51 degrees Celsius. That's 124 Fahrenheit. The human body just wasn't built to sit inside that kind of heat. And in Dubai, that number isn't a rare spike anymore. It's just the weather forecast. Think about what that actually feels like. If you touch a car door handle in that weather, you'll yank your hand back before you even realize you're burned. The asphalt on Sheikh Zayed Road literally goes soft under tires. Metal railings turn into branding irons. If you step outside for 10 minutes without shade, your body just straight up starts losing the battle against the sun. This is the story of a city that decided to build a glittering megacity in one of the most unforgiving climates on Earth. And now, nature is sending the bill. What's happening right now isn't some far-off prediction about an apocalypse. It's real. It's happening this decade, right in the streets and construction sites of a place that made a bet nobody else was crazy enough to make. And they might lose that bet. To understand why this is such a massive deal, you have to look at what Dubai used to be. 60 years ago, it was a tiny fishing and pearl diving town on a creek. Just sand, salt, and a few low buildings baking under a brutal sun. Then the oil money arrived, followed by a massive vision. Within a single lifetime, a skyline exploded out of the dirt. You got the Burj Khalifa reaching 828 meters into the air, artificial islands shaped like palm trees, indoor ski slopes, and malls the size of towns. The whole thing relies on one thing: cooling. Every clean marble lobby and glass tower works because Dubai figured out how to fight the heat. Air conditioning isn't a luxury there. It's the literal spine holding the city up. If that goes away, the city collapses in hours. So what happens when the temperature climbs past what that system can handle? That's the terrifying question. Dubai's summers have always been brutal. Locals will tell you July and August have been unbearable for generations. But the actual nature of the heat is shifting. It's not just the daytime highs anymore. It's the nights. The desert used to offer a compromise. The sun would hammer you all day. But after dark, the sand would radiate that heat back into space. The temperature would drop to something survivable, down into the low 30s. It wasn't cool, but it was enough to let the body reset, let outdoor workers sleep, and let the power grid recover. That deal is gone. Now the nights don't cool down. Humidity rolls in off the Gulf like a wet blanket, trapping the heat against the ground. There are nights in the way where the thermometer never drops below 40 degrees Celsius. 40 degrees at 3 in the morning is wild. When you combine that with the coastal moisture, you get what scientists call wet bulb temperature, which is the metric that actually dictates whether a human can survive outside. This is the part that genuinely scares me, because this one number matters way more than any headline about a record high. Your phone shows you dry bulb temperature, which is just the plain air reading. Wet bulb factors in humidity. It measures the absolute coolest you can get by sweating, which is the only real defense your body has. When the air is dry, sweat evaporates fast and cools you off. When the air is soaked with moisture, sweat just sits on your skin. It stops working. Your internal thermostat runs out of options. Scientists point to a wet bulb temperature of 35 degrees Celsius as the hard limit. If it crosses that line, a healthy person sitting in the shade with unlimited water will die within about 6 hours. Your core temperature just keeps climbing, and no fan or water bottle can stop it. For a long time, that 35-degree wet bulb line was just a textbook nightmare. The real world didn't actually hit it. But the Persian Gulf coast, right where Dubai sits, is one of the few places on Earth now brushing up against it. Researchers have flagged this shoreline as a prime candidate to pass that survivability threshold this century. Parts of it have already flirted with the edge during recent heat waves. This isn't a problem for 100 years from now. It's showing up on instruments today. That's the shadow hanging over the city. All that glass and ambition is sitting on the front line of a climate limit we can't negotiate with. Let's look at the actual reality on the ground, though. Who is actually stuck out in this weather? It's not the tourists drinking cocktails in a sky bar or executives moving from air-conditioned cars to offices. The people out in the worst of it are the migrant laborers who built the city. Millions of workers from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, and the Philippines do the heavy lifting. They pour the concrete and hang facades on scaffolding 40 floors up, with the sun cooking them from above and the glare reflecting off the glass. Dubai does have a midday work ban in the summer, stopping outdoor labor during the hottest afternoon hours from mid-June through mid-September. It matters, because before those rules, workers were collapsing constantly. The true numbers are hard to find, because heat deaths are slippery. A man dies of heart failure, and the underlying cause, a body cooked past its limit, never makes the official record. Human rights groups have argued for years that the real toll is heavily undercounted. But here's the catch. The midday ban clears the streets when the sun is highest, but because the nights aren't cooling down, the shifts pushed to the morning and evening aren't safe either. If it's 40 degrees at dawn and 42 by mid-morning, shifting the hours barely helps. The window for outdoor labor is shrinking from both sides. Imagine a guy on a scaffold at 6 a.m., already sweating through his clothes before he even opens the first bag of cement, and you realize the safe part of his day is disappearing. There's also a twist to this that most people miss. The city's defense system makes the problem worse. Air conditioning saves Dubai, but it also cooks Dubai. Both are true. Every AC unit works by moving heat. It doesn't destroy it, it just extracts it from inside and dumps it outside. When you multiply that by millions of units across a dense city of towers, you get an ocean of hot exhaust pouring into the streets. The air conditioners keeping the indoors livable are making the outdoors hotter. It's a feedback loop. The hotter it gets, the harder the AC works, which pumps out more heat, making the outside temperature climb even more. It's the urban heat island effect on a massive scale. Concrete and glass soak up solar radiation all day and vent it slowly all night, which is why the nights stopped cooling down. A sandy desert cools off fast, but a concrete desert holds on to the heat. Dubai swapped one for the other in 2 generations, and now the bill is due. Then there's the power grid. Electricity demand spikes massively in the summer, driven almost entirely by AC. On the hottest days, cooling eats up a huge percentage of the entire grid's capacity. The whole system is built around a brutal peak, those blistering afternoons when demand skyrockets and every power plant is running flat out. If you stack a hotter decade on top of that, you get higher peaks and longer summers. The nights don't give the grid a break anymore. Every extra degree pushes demand up and shrinks the safety margin. The nightmare scenario for engineers is a heat wave severe enough to trigger a total blackout. In most places, a power outage is just annoying. You light some candles and lose the food in your fridge. In Dubai, during a July heat wave, a total power failure is a slow-motion disaster. The second the AC dies, those glass towers turn into greenhouses. Sealed apartments with windows that don't open become ovens. There's no natural airflow because the architecture assumes the power never stops. Within hours, the buildings designed to protect you become incredibly dangerous. That's the fragility underneath the luxury. A city that survives by defying its environment becomes incredibly vulnerable the moment that defiance slips for even a few hours. We are seeing records fall across the entire region. Neighboring countries are logging temperatures around 50 degrees Celsius regularly now. Kuwait has hit 53 and 54 degrees in the shade. Iran's coast has seen wet bulb readings that shocked climate scientists. Dubai is right in the middle of this superheated zone, and its own infrastructure wasn't designed for these numbers. What makes this decade different is the trend line. It's the steady upward creep of hotter averages, longer summers, and those unforgiving nights. A single 50-degree afternoon is just a bad day, but a recurring pattern that starts earlier and stays later is a structural crisis. The Middle East is warming roughly twice as fast as the global average. Think about that. The part of the world already closest to the edge of human survivability is heating up at double speed. Dubai isn't just sitting there, though. They're throwing massive amounts of money at the issue. There's a huge push into solar energy with the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Solar Park, which is designed to feed clean power into that hungry grid. The logic makes sense. Use the sun that's heating the city to power the machines fighting it. They've also invested heavily in district cooling systems, which use centralized plants to pipe chilled water to neighborhoods, which is way more efficient than millions of individual ACC units. They are experimenting with reflective materials, green building codes, and shaded walkways. They've even tried cloud seeding, running an active rain enhancement program where planes' fire salt flares into clouds to force rainfall. And that's where things got strange recently. In April 2024, the desert completely flooded. Dubai got hit by the heaviest rainfall in the UAE's recorded history. Around a year and a half's worth of rain fell in a single day. The airport turned into a lake, runways vanished, highways became rivers, and luxury malls flooded. Images of floating supercars went viral. A city built for zero rain was overwhelmed by water it had no drainage to handle. People blamed the cloud seeding immediately, though officials pointed out it was a massive natural storm system that would have flooded the area anyway. But the real takeaway was the sheer whiplash. A hotter atmosphere holds more moisture, and when it lets go, it pours. Dubai's crisis isn't just about relentless heat. It's about an unpredictable climate. You get punishing droughts, then sudden deluges the city wasn't built for. The infrastructure was built for a predictable enemy, but the enemy changed the rules. The city built a machine optimized for hot, dry, stable conditions, and they pushed that engineering to the absolute limit. But those conditions are shifting. The heat is passing design tolerances, the nights won't cool down, and the rain comes as a flood. Think about that delivery rider weaving through traffic on a motorbike to bring food to someone in an air-conditioned apartment. He's exposed for hours. Engine heat rises from the bike, road heat rises from the asphalt, and the sun beats down from above. His only reward is a couple of minutes in a cooled lobby before he goes back out into the furnace. These are the people carrying the real weight of this climate shift in their bodies every summer. So where does this go for the rest of the decade? Two different futures are playing out at the exact same time. In one scenario, Dubai does what it always does, and out-engineers the problem. More solar, efficient district cooling, better worker protections, and maybe even climate-controlled outdoor districts. The city's identity is built on doing the impossible with enough capital and will. If any place can buy its way out of extreme heat, it's this one. Dubai might just become the global lab for how humans survive a hotter planet, exporting those tools to other growing cities. In the other scenario, basic physics wins. The wet bulb line keeps moving closer. The grid fails during a relentless heat wave, and the nights offer zero recovery. It highlights the fundamental truth that you can air condition a building, but you can't air condition an outdoor economy or the sky above a metropolis. Nobody knows which side wins out, but the rapid warming of this specific coastline isn't a comforting trend. People call Dubai a city of the future, a preview of human ambition, and it is. But it might be a preview in a way the brochures didn't mean. The challenge Dubai faces right now, surviving heat that tests the absolute limits of human biology, is the same challenge heading for Phoenix, Karachi, Baghdad, and Ahmedabad. These are places where hundreds of millions of people live, all watching that same wet bulb line creep closer. Dubai just arrived there first because it chose the hardest terrain and dared the desert to stop it. For 60 years, the bet paid off. Towers went up, fortunes were made, and a fishing town became a global hub. But the desert isn't backing down anymore. The number to remember isn't the height of the Burj Khalifa or the billions spent on islands. The number to remember is 35. 35 degrees wet bulb is where the human body runs out of defenses. That line used to be purely theoretical, but a shimmering city on the Gulf Coast is creeping toward it with every passing year. The whole experiment comes down to a single race. Can human ingenuity keep outrunning the thermometer? Or does the heat finally catch up? Next time you see a photo of that skyline at sunset, look past the glass. Look at the air itself, because somewhere in that heat-warped sky is the real story of a city built to conquer nature. Realizing nature is finally collecting the check.